You know the way I invented that character, that comic character, Nigel Truther, Satanic pedophiles, that one? That's actually a very serious thing, and I'm going to explain about what his archetype represents, this character who sees pedophiles everywhere. When Puzzling People first came out, I was kind of like the darling of the alternative and the mainstream for a while. And I didn't want to do the mainstream stuff because I didn't trust them, and I still don't. But I did so much alt media and conferences around the world and so on. And I would meet on occasion, sometimes quite commonly, people who were obsessed with pedophilia and elite pedophiles. Now, while I fully accept that these there are elite or affluent or wealthy pedophile sex rings, they've been busted so many times. They are not satanic. They're always Christians, nearly always Catholics, some Muslims and some Jews and some Protestants. But it's near they're not satanic. The satanic thing is used to deflect from what they are. It has that spooky, edgy feel to it, like calling them reptilians. It also diminishes what they do and why they do it. The real reason why they do it and what's driving these pedophile gangs in power is the class system. The class system is what does it. If you look at all the cases, they're nearly always the same. Children from poor or disadvantaged homes, broken homes, dysfunctional parenting, poorer than most working class types. Here comes the me Collins. Poorer than most working class types, and they are taken in by wealthy individuals and then groomed through gifts and so on, and then raped at these rich parties. Because they're poor and disadvantaged, they have no one to turn to. They can't hire lawyers, they can't hire anybody. They will go and to activists, people who set themselves up as activists and tell them their stories or share on the internet, but they have no power. It's the class system you're dealing with, not satanic systems. It's the class system. It's always been like that. Even when you look at the Muslim grooming gangs in England, it's the very poor white girls, English girls, and the Islamic gangs tend to be more economically better off. They have like kebab shops and so on. It's always about class. The working class are always being trodden down upon. And that's what it's really about. But that's not what this video is about. I'm just clarifying that up. I totally am not making fun of people who have been targeted by these powerful pedo gangs, and I do accept that these powerful pedo gangs exist. Now, these people I meet at these events were consumed by the whole thing. When I say consumed, they were literally 24/7 obsessed with pedophile rings and pedophilia. And it usually started out of a well-meaning position of hearing about it and being upset by the stories and the things you'd read in paper. Like there was a case came out of a 14-year-old boy who was beaten to death at an S&M sex party in London. That really happened about 4 or 5 years ago. And the whole thing was covered up. And then they get cooked up on red herrings like the Hampstead hoax, which was clearly proven to be a classic case of a borderline ex making up lies to get back at her husband, and using what all borderline women do. They get a new cuckold who becomes almost like their attack dog because they use them. This is their and the guy thinks he's defending his woman or whatever. But if you look at what happened in he's just a sucker. He's just that. That's what. If you look at the Hampstead Hoke, it's a classic borderline female, uh, making up bullshit stories and And it's another thing that borderlines do. They will exploit their own children, in and put them on the videos and everything, and that's exactly what took place there. And it's that the way that and these people became obsessed. Oh, children never lie. No, children lie all the time. The Holly Greig thing. Down syndrome children never lie. They're so pure. I can tell you for a fact. I used to do volunteer work at a place for Down syndromes, and they live in a fantasy world. A lot of them, and they lie all the time, and that's just how it is. And so they become obsessed with this. They change their they changed their profile pic to Google Holly Gregg, Google Hampstead, and it's 24/7. It's endless. It's endless, and then eventually it changes them because what's happening is the reason why the pedo gangs never get caught is because they're pouring their life energy into them, and they're giving them, ironically, they're giving them more power. At the same time, they're destroying and diminishing their own psychic power, destroying themselves. And so what happens in it goes from a point of where they start off thinking about, it goes very, very dark in some of these people. If they don't pull the brakes on and jump out, it goes very, very dark. They will start thinking that literally everyone is a pedophile. Everyone. They walk down the street literally in a state of terror, saying, "Oh, he's a pedophile. She's a pedophile. He's a satanic pedophile. She's a." It just never stops. On top of that, they will start to join groups where they make false accusations of people or get all excited if some celebrity has been busted or something like that, and they're consumed by nonce mania. It just it's like it just drives them, and eventually they end up with kiddie porn on their own laptops for research, and that's how dark it will get with some of them. Not all, but it happened. I know one that happened, and he ended up killing himself, and the police took his laptop in. And they will become obsessed. And as their mental decay, every human sexual act becomes pedophilia. I remember seeing one about 8 years ago on Facebook who posted a picture of a British female politician who took sexy, risque, totally tasteful nudes of herself, and it became a minor titillation scandal. And he was posting these were pictures of a woman in her 30s looking very attractive, doing sensual photographing, sensual things, normal, healthy sexual eroticism, and I'm posting comments on it. Look at this filthy pedo nonce. And this is like what they're like. They think that they end up believing that all human sexuality is a gateway to pedophilia, or is even a kind of pedophilia itself. This is like how twisted they become. Eventually, they will all, and so many of them have vanished over the years. A lot of them ended up in psychiatric hospitals. A lot of them ended up on the streets. Many ended up suicidal. It's because they went into the abyss and couldn't pull the brakes off. And in their belief that they were fighting demonics and satanics and reptilians, these entities actually took control of them. They were lured in. It was like, come on, come on, come on, come on, gotcha, like that, like that. And they literally spiraled into their own demonic saturated abyss. And that's what I mean by this stuff. I'm not saying this stuff isn't true. Of course it's true. It's been going on. Look at what happened here in Ireland. But I'm saying that they're satanic. How many bishops and priests have been arrested, rabbis? How many have been found operating out of mosques in the north of England? And then you turn around and call them satanics when they're all Abrahamics. And you're only doing it because you've been programmed. And you believe it feels like you're fighting on the righteous side of good and all this stuff. And it eats you alive and tears you asunder. And that's what this is really about. Do not get caught up in anything that, what's the word? Drains your psychic energy. If I made one fatal mistake when I came out with when I came out back 10 years ago with psychopathic stuff, it was that I presented it as a pagan, forgetting that most people out there live in an Abrahamic black and white, saints or sinners. And suddenly all these people were declaring themselves, anyone who pissed them off, to be a psychopath. Just like the non-smanics declare anyone who's even remotely exploring sex in any way to be a paedophile. Adult sex I'm talking about. They become like that. It's the Abrahamic saints versus sinners, black and white mindset, where me being a pagan presenting the book, and even had a chapter on the significance of the Luciferian archetype and how it represents that maybe your good isn't good and maybe your bad isn't bad necessarily, and everything is a series of grey areas. I'd forgotten that people out there, so many people out there, live in an Abrahamic black and white world where everyone is they're good and they're out to get everyone as bad, and no one can be an asshole, no one can be a dickhead, no one can. They're all it's all extremes. And I know I saw people. I literally still get messages from people saying, "Yeah, my sister's a psychopath, my uncle's a psychopath, my father's a psychopath, my best friend." It's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? You get so many of them, and it's like that's because they cannot put the brakes on because of this Abrahamic black and white thinking. And if you scratch them even a little bit, you see the Christian programming coming out, just even a little bit. And so that's if you want to hold on to your psychic energy, yes, be aware that these things exist, right? And that's what my mantra of fuck them if they can't take a joke. Look, be aware of it, look into it, explore it, and get the fuck out, okay? Make sure you have enough knowledge to protect yourself and your loved ones. And get the fuck out. Understand it exists. Then go back to enjoying nature, enjoying life, enjoying love, enjoying the richness of this world. Otherwise, you will drain your life force. And what's the best cure for dealing with these fuckers? You're never going to be able to break into their mansions and rescue kids. That's all in your fucking mind, okay? What you can do when you give them attention, what you do is you give them psychic power, and what you do is destroy yourself. You destroy your own psychic power. And it's so important to understand that there is a shadow in the world, there is a darkness in the world, but it's not the entire world. And that's how you maintain and stop destroying your own psychic energy. Take care.